Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. I'm Diane, and I'm joined today by Lindsay, and we're going to take the next few minutes to walk you through the East Riverside section of the Blue Line Light Rail project. Closed captioning is available in English and Spanish by clicking the CC button or the Settings button on the bottom right of the video window. The Blue Line team has established 4 working groups designed to dive a little deeper into each of the project's sections. Stations serve as the boundaries for these working groups. For the East Riverside Working Group, the boundaries are the Montopolis Station on the east and the Riverside Station on the west. The Montopolis Station is located just east of Montopolis Drive. The Faro Station is located near the Faro Drive intersection, and the Riverside Station is near South Pleasant Valley Road. If you're interested in participating in a live working group session so that you can ask questions and provide feedback in real time, please visit projectconnect.com/groups to check out events happening now and to sign up for a future working group meeting. In just a moment, Lindsay is going to walk you through the engineering schematics for the East Riverside section. Schematics are a technical tool used by the engineering team to develop and communicate the design. Lindsay will zoom into the schematics to provide a detailed look at the transitway alignment and station locations. There is a legend on each page of the schematics, but you won't be able to see the legend while we're zoomed in, so we want to briefly orient you. I'll review some of the important items. Starting at the top left, the seafoam green color indicates an at-grade or street-level guideway. The hatched rectangles are station platforms. The sky blue indicates retained cut or fill for the guideway. This color is used to show that the guideway is not at street level, but also not fully elevated. The peach color indicates that the guideway is aerial or elevated above the street level. The purple shading indicates an underground guideway. We won't see that in this section. Green shading indicates a bicycle path, and pink indicates a zone for trees and furniture, while gray indicates the paved roadway for the vehicle lanes. Yellow indicates a sidewalk or shared use path. Now, the middle column has a number of different line types indicating different features. The solid red line with notches indicates a retaining wall. The blue line that's dashed indicates the proposed light rail transit corridor. The black dashed line indicates the existing right-of-way or right-of-way limit. Referring to the existing right-of-way is helpful in identifying where we might need to acquire additional space for transportation facilities or right-of-way throughout the corridor. The rest of the center column is less critical, but we do want to point out the right-hand column, which provides icons for elements like heritage trees and protected trees, signalized intersections, and bus stops. Just below the legend, you'll see that the schematics read west to east, with west on the left and east on the right. On the schematics, the track is indicated by a blue line showing eastbound to the airport and a red line showing westbound to downtown. Finally, on the right side of the slide, you'll see various cross sections for the project in some key areas. While the schematics we're about to look at are designed to show us what the project would look like from above, these help show us what the project would look like if we were standing in the middle of it. Lindsay will describe each of these areas as we show them on the screen, but briefly, I'll mention the characteristics of the cross sections. Bicycle and pedestrian facilities, as well as tree and furniture zones, are indicated in green. Car and bus lanes are indicated in gray, and the light rail lines and the station are in blue. With that, I'll turn it over to Lindsay to share the engineering design plans.
Thank you, Diane. I will switch to my screen showing the schematics here. As mentioned, our focus will be on the Riverside, Montopolis, and Faro stations, but just to give context to the next area adjacent to the East Riverside Working Group segment, I'll show you a brief overview of where we connect to I-35. So to the west of our segment here, you'll see the I-35 connection all through East Riverside. The transit way will be street level, center running along the East Riverside corridor, and the station here shown at Lakeshore is the next station just to the west of the East Riverside segment that we will be covering in more detail. So I will jump to our segment here, and I'll also remind everyone of those legend items very briefly. The transit way is in this light green area here with these blue and red lines indicating each of the 2 tracks, going out to the airport in blue and going toward downtown in red. The roadway lanes on either side of the transit way, followed by what is in green is the bikeway, separated in purple by a tree and furniture zone from a sidewalk here in orange on the outside. And in some cases, as we move along the corridor, I will show you areas where, due to constrained right-of-way, we may not have separate bike and ped facilities, but rather a combined shared use path. Also showing potential bus stop locations here in blue for areas that could provide bus to light rail connectivity. An important item to highlight as we move through here, approaching the Pleasant Valley intersection, but this applies to the entire corridor, is where you see these intersection symbols for traffic signals. Each of these shows where we have a signalized intersection, and where you don't see them, for example, here at the driveways to the left here or to the west, is where we don't have any permitted vehicle moves across the transit way. So where you see those symbols, you'll also see opportunities for left turns across the transit way in all directions. If you don't see that symbol, it would be a right in, right out only move from those cross streets or driveways. And to access it, say, to get to this driveway, if you were traveling eastbound here, would have to come to the next intersection and make a U-turn move at that protected left turn lane that you'll see there to make a U-turn and come around and access that area. So jumping into the East Riverside segment, I'm starting here just on the west side of Pleasant Valley, which really should be considered as a whole area through here, but I'll start over at Willow Creek. And what you'll see here is the roadway lanes crossing the transit way in this area. And the reason for that is because at Pleasant Valley, one of the scenarios that we are looking at is reconfiguring the entire intersection to potentially move the westbound lanes to the south side of the intersection to be next to the eastbound lanes. And having the transit way on the north side here. What is shown for the transit way in this area, this hatched box, is a potential station area. You'll notice that this box is much larger than the platform areas we're showing at all of the other stations, and that's because we haven't determined an exact location for where the actual station may be in this area. This concept has the transit way still at street level through here and could have a connection to the Metro Rapid service that runs north-south, or that is planned north-south along Pleasant Valley here, just on the other side of the Riverside and Pleasant Valley intersection, such as where this blue box is indicated here, providing a connection between the Metro Rapid and light rail services. You'll see also that this purple area could be potential green space and a really great community asset, and in order to maximize the use of this station area and complement transit-oriented development throughout this area. The red lines here that you'll notice are the retaining walls, and those would be needed because there's a large difference in elevation from the south side of Riverside here at the eastbound lanes that are much higher than the north side at the westbound lanes. So it slopes down going this direction at a very steep grade. In order to level that out for the transit way and for a station that needs to be flat, would need some retaining walls to maintain the land up here at a higher elevation, and then would drop down to flatten out this area down here for the transit way and station. The key objectives of this area are promoting Metro Rapid to light rail connectivity and providing a seamless transition for riders between those two services, as well as improving pedestrian and vehicle safety throughout this intersection that is very congested today. Some of those items are addressed by reconfiguring this intersection in this concept. And then I also mentioned we are still evaluating additional scenarios. One of those might be to keep the roadway configuration the way it is today, with the eastbound lanes on the south side and the westbound through lanes on the north side, and have the transit way cross in between them in the middle. The nice points of that alternative are that it eliminates this crossing that I showed you over here and a similar one on the other side of the intersection, where you would have to transition the roadway lanes back over the transit way, by keeping the transit way in the middle the entire time. In order to make that work, the transit way, due to the grades here and keeping that station area flat, could actually pass underneath Pleasant Valley as an underpass, and with Pleasant Valley staying at street level above the light rail station that would be below it. And again, connecting to Metro Rapid somewhere here on the north side of the intersection that could potentially connect underneath Riverside to that below grade or underpass light rail station under Pleasant Valley. We anticipate working through these alternatives and potentially more, and we'll be inviting this working group to a station area planning workshop to discuss those alternatives in more detail and understand what the best path forward may be for what option can be advanced in this location. Moving to the east, up here there is a lot of planned development as part of the River Park development, and really along this entire segment of the corridor, with lots of new construction or planned construction happening all the time. This would require construction of 2 new bridges over Country Club Creek, and we would be planning close coordination with the Country Club Creek Trail connection to provide a good connection to the Blue Line light rail system and access from that trail into our station area. Moving east from the Pleasant Valley intersection, we approach Wickersham, which just to the right here, you'll see where under this one scenario, the through lanes would cross back over the transit way, so that the transit way can continue again to be center running at street level. And you'll also notice that under that scenario, while the through lanes move to the south here, as I mentioned, a property access or business access lane for all of the properties and residences along the north side would be maintained there, though it wouldn't be a through lane going all the way through across Riverside. Through here, you'll see the separate bike and pedestrian facilities on both sides of the corridor. We approach Crossing Place with another signalized intersection and a left turn movement permitted here. And continuing east, I'll flip to the next page to our next station at Faro. In this area, a key item of note is that we have the station, which is a center platform in this area, meaning that you would access for pedestrians or cyclists coming through the intersection crosswalk here to the middle of the transit way and using this ramp up to the platform in the center. And from that platform, you would access both directions of track and getting on or off the train going in either direction from the same platform. This ramp here coming from the sidewalks or bike lanes across the crosswalk would ramp up at a gentle slope coming to the platform elevation that's about 14 inches above street level. And what you'll also notice here are more retaining walls on either side. And I'm going to flip to the profile view here briefly to explain why those would be needed and what that would mean in terms of what this would look like in this area. This light blue line shows the existing grade or topography of the land and the roadway in this segment. And you'll notice there's a lot of ups and downs. And the station has to be flat. So in order to maintain an area that is flat for the station, retaining walls would be built on either side of the station in this area to elevate it above the roadway lanes that are next to it, just a little bit. Continuing east, I will note that although a signalized intersection is not planned here for Pennock Drive, we are looking at planning a pedestrian crossing, so a special pedestrian signal and crosswalk to be able to access the platform from this end. And further to the east, lots more development. In fact, these are old aerials and this is already built out and constructed, and there's lots more construction going on to the east over here. At Grove, you'll notice more bus stops connecting to north-south bus routes that continue up to the ACC Riverside campus just off my screen to the north here. And continuing those multimodal improvements on the edges of the corridor with bike and ped facilities throughout. We maintain the transit way street level center running to the Montopolis intersection, which is signalized with turning movements permitted in all directions across the intersection. Another center platform where you would access the platform from the crosswalk at Montopolis on this end, and from the other end that's just off my screen, and I'll show in a moment, from Vargas, also accessing from there. That you can see on this side, and with lots of developments in all directions through here. Our next signalized intersection with turning movements permitted across is at Frontier Valley. And then again at Anise. And coming up to what is actually a station on the next segment going into the Metro Center and Airport segment that'll be covered in more detail in that working group, but want to note that there are two potential station location options in that segment, and one of them actually falls here just to the west of 71 at Coriander Drive, where we have intersections at Coriander and Airport Commerce. And just off to the brake line here, I'll show you where that other station option may be, which will be covered in more detail in that working group. So 71, and this is where that other station location option could be. It would not be both. So one is on the other side of 71, and one could be between 71 and Metro Center here. And that brings us to the end of our segment.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, and thanks everyone for joining us to review the East Riverside section of the Blue Line Light Rail project. Please take a moment to complete the questions below and tell us what you think about the project's design in this area, including its strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. To learn what the plans look like for the other segments of the Blue Line, you can watch the Downtown, South Shore, and Metro Center Airport videos. And please visit our Get Involved webpage at projectconnect.com/get-involved to find out how to stay involved with the Project Connect program. Thanks again for joining us.